So, oh, and one other thing, just to evidence. Turn that on. Another piece of evidence. On that A-frame, where we found the fake blood, so they say. Please remember, the injury was on the left-hand side. The A pole, or the eye pole, whatever firefighters, paramedic call it for the day, is right there where his face would have been. That's fact. That's not us. That's fact. Y'all come up with your own theory. We've got ours. We'll talk about it. Next. These are other pictures, stuff that lit up. Go ahead. Now, all of a sudden we got a body. All of a sudden we got everything going for us now. Man, we're moving, we're grooving. We start getting tips. Charlie. Here's one from a law enforcement officer. I'm not going to drag you through the mud. You guys can get this. We'll make it available to you. He's a deputy in the county. His name's Pine Gregory. Do you have any information regarding him? He pulled Thomas over. He's the last one to see him alive. We will keep it. This is from a law enforcement officer. Fact. Here's another one from a law enforcement officer. I had a snitch in Amarillo State Prison. He's not a good guy. He's the most of the time we recover him, the snitch from the Hemp Hill County. I can only tell you what I know. But the dash cam footage, remember we talked about the dash cam footage that mysteriously disappeared, that we saw the picture, she saw the picture, she saw the picture that mysteriously disappeared? Remember that? Yeah. And the Dollar General videotape that disappeared and got thrown away? What? We didn't do that. Sheriff did that. Why? That's a fact. Come up with your theory. Go. Squeeze that deputy and you will get a body. That's from a law enforcement officer. Go. Okay. MJ Holmes is going to kind of... Caroline, can you come up? Caroline's going to walk you through this gentleman. His name is Chris Jones. He's sitting in jail right now. I want you to hear what this boy says and then compare it to what I just told you, which is fact. I see some of you out there shaking your heads now. Listen to this.
So Chris Jones and I have established a relationship through a series of interviews that have gone on even as recent as the end of 2020 from prison. This is a series of portions of our phone call from prison where he tells me what happened to Tom Brown. Yes, this has all already been sent over to the Attorney General. I sent it the day that this happened. I know that there's a lot of conjecture out there about Chris Jones' stories and how they don't line up, that he isn't consistent, but I can tell you from my 5 interviews that I personally did with him that he was consistent with me. Now, what he has been with the Attorney General, he has also been polygraphed, and there's a series of things that I will not speak to. I'm only going to speak to what I personally have had with him in my interviews. Charlie, if you'll start number 1, the top one.
Secretary's office, he left my very code in the other office. When he pulled me in there, he was telling me that that there's been a lot of talk about me and everything. There's been a lot of people Canadian that have been talking about me, saying they wanted me to go play football for Canadian. I was like, I'm not going to do that. He was like, yeah, you will, because he's going to be sheriff in Hemphill County, by the end of that year. And if I don't go to school there, he's going to ruin my life with those skills. He can put me in prison for those skills.
Okay, so hold on real quick. So Nathan
was like, it was during track season. He was like, in the regional track meet, the coaches from Canadian are going to have a meeting with you. I mean, you're going to do that. He was like, the one thing you will not do is say no. And I was like, I'm not going to go to school in Canadian. You know, I lived there, but I refused to go to school there. That's why I came to school in Higgins. And he was like, well, if you don't do that, he's going to kill me. And I was like, I'm not worried about it. So I walked out the office. He was like, well, I'll be in contact with you. So I went and told the coach.
You can go to number 2. And yes,
The UL said, yes, will you come? I was like, man, I don't want to go to school. He was like, look, I'll give you a start spot as a running back. You're going to work for it. I'll give you a start spot. I guarantee you, like, state dreams, I guarantee you going to need college you want to go to. Just come play for us. And I was like, well, if you get the UL to say yes, I'll do it. And I didn't think they could do it. And he was like, well, I didn't get a transfer schools today. And I was like, okay, so they took me to Higgins, and the next day I was going to school in Canadian. And during the first game, after we played the first game, after the first scrimmage, that's when I saw Nathan Lewis again. And he was like, I guess he was already in the stadium. And he was like, we've seen enough. And he was like, the one thing you will not do is you will not lose no games. And I was like, well, I can't control what happens. You know, this is the only team I never played with this team. And like, once you lose me the game, then we're going to kill you. And I was like, who was we? And that's when I started going out with Marley Patterson. And he was like, you need to stay with Marley. And I was like, well, how you going with Marley? And then he walked away. And then he came in and talked to me again. He was like, we've seen enough. He was like, once you strap on that helmet, once you put on that helmet, you take that first play, you become part of one of the biggest organizations that was based football. And then the first game, we played Bushland, and we lost by a touchdown. And we're supposed to win. We're supposed to win that and become, like, I guess, the number one team in the state of Texas with the longest winning streak. And we tied with Willard. So after that game, I saw him again. He was like, I told you, they're losing any more games. If they lose any more games, we're going to kill you. So then after the second game, we lost to the Rangers. Now that was the second game we played. We lost by a touchdown. And the next day, I was walking to Carter Ruth's house, and Mr. Liberty pulled up on me. And like, well, I'll give you a ride. We were going now, but while I'm going to Cody's house, he took me, instead of going to Cody's house, like, you know the bridge in Canadian?
Yeah.
The bridge, and you can walk, like, the bridge people walk on, or you can keep walking that way. And you keep walking that way, and then under the train track, there's a ladder. And you can take me up that ladder. You climb up the ladder, and you're under the train track, like, you're under it. Like, nobody can see you. You can't hear nothing. And you pull the gun on. And you're like, I'm going to kill you. And when he cocked the gun back out, you know, I just dropped down, and I was like, they don't kill me. I didn't do anything wrong. I was like, y'all told me to come play this, so I did. And he was like, well, you lost a lot of people today, you owe a bunch of money. And I was like, how did I lose the money? He was like, because they bet on the games. And I was like, who bets on the games? He was like, there's a whole bunch of rich people that bet on the games, and you lost them a whole bunch of money. So in my mind, I was like, what did I do? So I was like, man, look, just tell them to double up every day, and we're going to lose any more games.
last one.
Mr. Peter?
Yeah, it was up to it.
Okay.
And he was like, well, look, there's something that's about to happen, and it's up to you to fix it. And then, you know, a couple days later, we go to it's Thanksgiving morning, and we're having an early practice in the field. And that's whenever, I guess that's that Thanksgiving listen, you know, and all the other coaches turn on the field and stuff, and when he comes on the field, you know, coach puts us in a circle, and he's sitting there telling us, well, look, Thomas is missing, this and that, and but he's looking at me the whole time, you know, so when they're done, I'm going to walk there, and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, why was he looking at me the whole time? And then he said, and he hit me what he said the other day, you know what I'm saying, that something bad's going to happen. So I'm like, man, no, this can't be it. So, you know, there's a couple games go by, and then we go to we end up going to the day before the semi-state game, before we played Young, I'm inside Coach Keddy's house, and Nathan Lewis called me, he's like, I need to show you something. I need to show you something that's going to encourage you to play better and win the state championship. And I'm like, what you got to show me? He's like, well, sneak out the house. So I sneak out the house, and I met him behind Coach Keddy's house. And he puts me back in his car park, and he's like, here, put on these goggles, and I put them on. And he takes me like I kind of know the way we're going. We're going like towards the ski yard, and about 30 minutes later, you know, he pulls up and he's like, pitch dark, and he's like, are you ready? I'm like, man, I'm like, what's going on? So I take off the goggles, and front of us, but there's Thomas in front of us. He's in a chair, and there's that one. He works for Nathan. He's not like a cop. He's like, I guess, like the constable.
Pine Gregory?
Yeah, Gregory. Yeah, that's him. He's standing next to Tom. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in the back of the cop car, and I'm kicking the window. I'm trying to get out. And he's like, "You need to calm down." But no, there's no calm down. I'm like, bro, I knew you were the one. I knew you were the one who did it. And he was like, you need to calm down. I was like, well, let me get out the car. He's like, no, you get out the car. We know what you're going to try to do. And if you're a hero, we're going to kill both y'all. I was like, then what do you do? And they're like, look, just win the state championship. Give us our money. And I was like, well, if you want money, I still got the money. I was paying you to play football for it. And he was like, no, we don't want your money. We want our money. And I was like,
Okay, hold on real quick. When he put goggles on your face. When he picked you up, when you met him, you snuck out of Kevin's house, you met him, you put you in his cop car, and he put goggles on you, and he took you out wherever, he took you somewhere. And then he took the goggles off. Are you telling me that Thomas was sitting in a line?
yeah, when he took the goggles off, me and him was sitting inside his cop car. He turned on his glasses, and Thomas, he was still out. He was still out in front of me. He was in front of me. And there's that Gregory dude was right next to him. When he had a hat on, he had a gun in his hand. And that's when I started kicking the window, and they just told me that I need to calm down because we were just killing him. And they killed me too. And they just told me I need to win the state championship, and they let me go. And I was like, so it's about football or what? And they're like, we just won the state championship, and we'll let him go. So he took me back home.
And you're sure Thomas was alive?
Yeah, I seen him. I seen him.
So, I know that was hard to hear. That was a phone call that happened from prison. He's currently in prison. And I'm just going to recap what that said because I know it's probably very difficult to hear.
Yes, very difficult.
So, okay. So, what he said was, number one, he was getting paid to play football for Canadian. Number one. Number two, he was told what games to forfeit, as in what games to throw or lose or however you want to word it, and what games to win. And that there is a group of people in Canadian that gamble on the games. And if he, excuse my language, pissed off the wrong people, that is when Nathan would take him to the walking bridge, down the ladder, and threaten to kill him, according to Chris. That's number one. Number two, he was living with Coach Kenning. He confirmed that. We've also confirmed that through other interviews. Basically, breaking UIL rules, number one, is what he was trying to get at. Let's go to the part about Thomas. He was stating that on Thursday evening, so this would be Thanksgiving Day, that evening, he got into Sheriff Lewis's car. Sheriff Lewis drove him somewhere, 25 to 30 minute time frame is what he told me. Had Chris put goggles on his eyes. When they got to the location, he told him to take the goggles off and he turned his front lights on. According to Chris, which you've just heard, which we can give to whoever needs or upload, however y'all want to listen to it, that he saw Thomas sitting in a chair, bound to a chair, that Pine Gregory was next to Thomas holding a gun to his head. He was told that he was to throw, as in lose, the football game, that if I stand corrected, which y'all would know this, it would be the Friday after Thanksgiving. And that he was told to throw the game. Or they both would die. That's the last time that he ever saw Thomas Brown, according to his testimony.
Thank you. I don't know what to say about this, but I know two things that are fact. He said it, one. And two, he's been interviewed how many times? 5 times. And his story hasn't changed once. Yeah, he's a convict. Yeah, he's been convicted of robbery and assault, simple assault. Robbery and simple assault. He's a convict. Convicts say things. I don't know. But I do know this. Everything that he told us, except for one little bit, is checked out. Everything. Is it true that there's a gambling ring? I don't care. Is it true that they violated UIL rules from head to toe that could take away state championships? Yeah, probably, but I don't care. I want to know what the hell happened to Thomas.
Amen.
All of us do. If Thomas was used to scare Chris, which Chris, I got to tell you, is a wild card. Hell of a football player, but a wild card. If that's what happened, again, you come up with your theory. I know what we think. Next. We requested records from the district attorney. Right? Everybody go back and remember what we talked about? I filed a 552. I said, you know what? Give me your case file. There's the legal. There it is, right there for y'all. There's what we requested. Any and all investigation work product. Anything you got on Thomas Brown, we want it. Here's what we got back. Now remember, 2 ladies went and talked to the gunman. He pulled out a goddamn, out of his drawer, 1 terabyte stick. Said, we got everything right here. Dear Mr. Klein, we got nothing that's responsive to your request. Nothing. What? You just told these ladies 3 days ago you got a 1 terabyte worth of information on this thing. Yeah, nothing. My legal counsel is going to deal with this. That's ridiculous. Next. Footage from a local business between 4 and 5 a.m. We have patrol cars. It's a really bad picture from behind Abraham's building. We've got a patrol car. See the red lights? See all that? But then we got an unmarked car. And the closer you look, sure does look like the sheriff's car. At 4 o'clock in the morning. But the logs say he don't appear till, what, 6, 7 in the morning? Yeah.
If you'll go back to the previous slide.
Go back to the previous slide, please.
Play the audio, please.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Here's Madonna in his own words. You want to hear what he says? Here you go. Play it, Charlie.
This is no big problem. I would guess it's about 85% of the case in a terabyte. The rest they could be off.
He's got 85% of the case. An entire terabyte. And what does he tell us? What does he tell you? What does he tell the community? What does he tell everybody? You get nothing. That's a violation of state law. You can go to jail for that. Next. All right, so you've heard a lot from me. We're going to let MJ Holmes get up here. She's going to talk about the anomalies. And then we will be at the end at that point, and we'll start with the media, and then we'll go to the public. Jane? Okay, the anomalies. Let's talk about the anomalies. She doesn't want to talk about it. Anomalies. First anomaly is incident with Nathan Lewis and Thomas in the summer of 2015. What is that? Nathan Lewis, according to Thomas, Nathan Lewis pulled out an AR and pointed it at Tom at 1:30 in the morning when Tom and a buddy were just going down Main Street looking for stuff. That was the first interaction between Tom and Nathan Lewis. Next anomaly. Philip's first meeting with Nathan Lewis. Nathan stated Thomas ran away with a gay man. There was no evidence that Tom was gay. That's an anomaly. Why would we be told that? He got on an 18-wheeler and drove to North Carolina to be an MMA fighter. Come on. And you don't have to believe me. Some of you in this room say, oh, that's just Klein making crap up. Most of it we got on recording. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. A picture of Thomas was shown at Frank's gas station to Philip Klein, Jane Holmes, Penny Meek, and 3 separate times. There is no trace of this picture any longer. Why destroy that picture? Why would anyone destroy that picture?
I can interject on some of these. Now, as far as that picture of Fox, I saw it, Philip saw it, my first trip here. In the AG's meeting, which we're going to talk about later, we were specifically told by the Attorney General's office that they had gone through all the dash cams, all the computers at the Sheriff's Department, and they found no picture. So it didn't exist. But that's not really the case because later, Nathan admits to getting some evidence from the Dollar General, and he said there was nothing on it, so he threw it away. You don't throw evidence away, but he did. So that's one of the anomalies that I wanted to talk about as far as the picture goes. Nathan Lewis asked for the phone password when the phone had not been found yet. There's been a lot of rumor about Penny calling friends of Tom's and asking them if they knew the password to Tom's phone. That's put out a lot of rumor in the community that Penny had the phone the whole time and she's looking for the password. Penny actually got a phone call from the Sheriff's Department asking her if she knew the password because they wanted to get into the iCloud account. So Penny said, I don't know it, I'll call around and see if I can find it. So that was an anomaly, and one of the false rumors that's been spread through the community. Yes,
And I'm telling you, you people in the newspaper, you people on the radio, and others of you in this community that go around and say, Penny must have had that phone because she's the one that wanted the password, that's a lie. They called her and said, we need your help. And what did Penny do? Did Penny say, screw you, I don't want to help you? No. You know what Penny did? She busted her ass trying to find that damn number. Keep that in the back of your mind. Again, fact, not theory.
That was never said on the radio, Mr. Klein. That is a damn lie.
Didn't say it was your radio show. Did I say it was your radio show?
There's no other radio.
Then put your ego back in your seat. Jane, go ahead.
Mr. Ego.
You need to get out of the Navy.
No.
Klein?
No.
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 We want to know what happened to Tom.
We all want to know what happened.
Can we finish this presentation and then you can have all, let us know what you want to ask or comment later? We'll flip the lights on so we can actually see some of these faces.
Yeah.
Former sheriffs told us they didn't trust Nathan Lewis. Tom filled up his car the night he went missing. The car was found with a quarter tank of gas. That's an anomaly that we've already spoken about. Sheriff Lewis failed his polygraph test. So we talked about Penny's test. We talked about Chris's test. We talked about Philip's test. Some of those, you either pass or fail a polygraph. That's a fact that Sheriff failed his polygraph, and he even admitted it to Texas Monthly. Statement of Christian Webb supplied by Ranger Smith. So that's another thing that's been going around is law enforcement's been sitting up here saying, we don't talk to private investigators. They got nothing to do with our investigation. We don't share information with them. We had a meeting in the Sheriff's Department back in, I think, February. It was after the fact was found. And it was kind of, we walked out of that meeting thinking, what the hell just happened? Because Ranger Smith was there, Sheriff Lewis was there, Brett Clapp was there, myself, Philip, Caroline, and Trace Sargent were there. I talked to him about statement analysis. It's called forensic statement analysis. Generally, in an investigation, you will get a written statement from parties before they're interviewed, before they get a hold of media reports. So in the very beginning of an investigation, you have to get any suspects or any persons of interest or any witnesses to write a statement. Ranger Smith confirmed that they went to Stillwater and pulled Christian Webb out of school and interrogated her. Very upsetting for her, and I don't blame her for being upset. But they had her write a statement about what happened that evening from the time they picked up Tom until the next day. They had her fill out a questionnaire. And I was telling Ranger Smith, I said, well, did you do a forensic statement analysis on her statement? And he said, no. Well, a forensic statement analysis is taking a person's statement and you segment it. And you divide it up into, you have to number the lines, and then a change, the basic concept of it is a change in language reflects a change in reality. So he said they didn't. Well, I'm a study of forensic statement analysis, and I've been studied by this former Georgia Bureau of Investigation detective named Mike Rundles, who teaches at Post. And we don't have TCOL in Georgia, we have Peace Officer Standard Training. I gave him, let me back up. Mike Smith gave me a copy of Christian Webb's statement. So don't let him tell you they don't work with us. He gave me a copy of the questionnaire that she answered. I sent those over to Mike Rundles, and we went through this thing line by line. And there was basically, you're looking for deception. There was no true deception in her statement. However, there were some pieces of her statement that needed to be questioned. If you use the word that, this is an example, if you use the word that, you're distancing yourself. If you call someone by this name and then the next line you call them by a different name, like Thomas versus Tom, there's a change of language which reflects a change in reality. So the recommendation, and we sent this statement analysis to the OAG's office, and the recommendation was to go back and re-interview her and ask her to fill in some of these blanks, because there's some missing things in the timeline. I don't know if they ever did, but my purpose of talking about this is there's a lot of techniques that you can use when you're investigating a case that I don't see that the law enforcement ever used those tools. So we did, we turned them over to law enforcement, but we've never heard of any results since then. It did not show up in the OAG report either. So the fire chief, so we called this search, and after the search, one of the searchers was the local fire chief. And from our understanding, he's a friend of Sheriff Lewis. So back prior to our search, and this was one of the things that started us to thinking, you know, we really need to do this search. All this evidence is out here on Lake Marvin Road, but we found out that they've really never done a search. But the Sheriff's Department told us they searched on horseback, they searched ATV, they searched walking, they searched by vehicle, they searched by air, and they steered us away from Lake Marvin. In that meeting that we had, they said, you're wasting your time at Lake Marvin Road. I don't know why you're going out to Lake Marvin Road. You're wasting your time. And by the way, don't go down to the end of that road. We got an operation down there. That's the only place you can't go. So we get a call from a TxDOT employee who said that his crews found a phone out there. This was prior to our search. His crews found a phone on the side of Lake Marvin Road. They examined it. It looked like a piece of junk. It looked like it had been weathered. It was no good. They couldn't get it turned on, so they tossed it. So Philip went out with help from Anita and Trey Webb and himself, and they searched, and they searched, and they couldn't find this phone where the workers said that they tossed the phone. So then we call out our search, and we find the cell phone. So the word gets back that the fire chief is telling people in the community that wasn't a cell phone that TxDOT found. That was a recorder. Philip Klein's nothing but a liar. He's making everybody think that there was a phone out there when it was actually a recorder. So, after Tom's body's found, we get a text from the text dot guy. Hi, my crew's the one that found that phone on Lake Marvin Road. Are you able to tell me if it was found near where Tom's body was found? So, this about the phone versus the recorder, I believe, ended up in the Canadian Record. So I texted Laurie at the Canadian Record. I said, here's the guy that found the phone, not the recorder. Everybody's trying to do this misinformation campaign and discredit these investigators that have been here trying to find what happened to Tom. So I said, here's his name, here's his phone number. I don't know if she ever called. She may have. I never saw a retraction of the previous statement.
Jane, I don't believe I got that message.
I have it on my phone.
I don't believe I got that message.
I texted the number, I texted the screenshots of my conversation with this person, and you wrote back and said, I can't see his number on that screenshot you just sent me, so I blew up the number and sent it, and you said, okay, thanks. So basically, dispelling the rumors that we don't know what we're talking about, and that we're lying about evidence that we're finding.
Afterwards, if you think you didn't get it, that's respectable.
I honestly don't.
Okay, that's fine, but Jane's got it right up here, so afterwards, why don't you come on up here and look at Jane's phone, and you can see the transaction and the thing. Because she's not lying, she's saying you responded. You may not have, maybe it was somebody in your house that responded. I don't know.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Don't put words in my mouth.
I'm not. What? What?
No, I'm not.
Okay, we gotta move on because you can ask your questions here in a minute, but please come up and look at Jane's phone. We all have looked at it, okay? And we see the same thing. So look at it. Go ahead.
Another issue we had in the meeting at the Sheriff's Department with the Rangers and Sheriff Lewis was I specifically asked them who found this backpack. And the sheriff didn't talk too much. Ranger Smith spoke for him. And the ranger, they looked back and forth at each other and said, we don't know who found the backpack. I was like, you don't know who found the backpack? So, with the help of some community people and tracking down this utility company, we found the person who actually found the backpack. And I called him. He said no one had ever interviewed him since then. And this had been 3 or 4 months after the backpack was found. So, he said he found the backpack, he went to the sheriff's department, he told them that he had found it, and they said, keep it under your belt. We'll get back with you. And no one ever did. So there's a lot of problems with that. Number one, they never interviewed the person who found a critical piece of evidence in the missing persons case. And number two, after we came back out to see where the backpack was found and run the cadaver dog in that area, we went down the road and talked to the wildlife management. I don't know his last name. Jamie? I don't know his last name.
Jamie Baker.
We told him, do you mind if we search this land? They found Thomas Brown's backpack right here. He said, where they found it? I said, right here. He said, that's federal land. No one ever talked to me. He was angry. No one ever told me. They found evidence in a crime on federal land. Why not? Wanna play that?
His name, I think Gregory, am I saying that right? It's Michael Bixby, I believe.
Is he a deputy?
Yes, he was a deputy.
Okay.
And I talked to him, and he immediately contacted the rest of the team, and I said, go get on Lake Marvin Road, and I said, there's going to be a curve right in there, and I put a red tape on this reflector showing that right there from the tape, there's a cattle guard a little ways out there, and you can, it'll be right there.
Okay.
And now that I'm here, you can't see that, anything in a bunch of that stuff, vegetation's already grown up.
Right.
Because everything was dead in the winter, you know. But I went by there, I haven't gone in that big right yet, you know. But I seen that, I go, gosh, you can't even see, if that backpack would be there today, you can't even see that it would have been there. But at the time, you could
the vegetation was not planted.
And I have some questions. I don't know why, but